This James Bond novel by Ian Fleming from Russia with Love is one of my favourite James Bond books. The makers of the film did a good job in adapting Ian Fleming's novel into a good film, and they cast the roles very well. Fleming's description of the characters in this book, including James Bond himself, is very good. I like it in the way Fleming describes the background and the history of at least or at least one of the characters in it. Donovan Grant, played by Robert Shaw in the film, his whole, he gives a mini biography of the villain, who's really the henchman to Rosa Klebb. The organisation in this that are the baddies, the villains, isn't Spectre, but it's Smash, the Soviet spy agency, which in the early Fleming books were always the villains, because at the time when this was written in 1956, I think it was at the height of the Cold War. Yes, 1956-57. And in this book, Fleming briefly mentions the Cambridge spy ring, or the two spies that defected to Russia at that time, being Donald MacLean and Guy Burgess, years before Kim Philby defected to Russia in 1963. But it's a good book. It's a good novel. I brought this edition in a bookshop in Petersfield when it was brand new in 2001. And I've read it and I've studied it. And Fleming's description of the leading lady in the film, Tanya Romanova, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's very good. He describes her body language, the kind of career woman that she is, in such fine detail, in much the same way as he does with the Donovan Grant character. Bond, the way he describes Bond's home, his flat in Chelsea, in Mayfair in London, with his Scottish maid, and the way he describes Bond having breakfast with marmalade and toast and a boiled egg and coffee is done very well. It's all the little details that are worth reading in this book. It's a good spy thriller, and James Bond doesn't come into the story until halfway through, or the second part of the novel, because it's written in, I think Fleming wrote it in two parts, if I remember. But it's a good James Bond book. In fact, it's better. In fact, it was just as good as the film itself. So worth a read if you're in for a younger generation, if they want to read the original James Bond novels. When they came to cast the parts, the actors played the parts very well, in much the way they were written in the novel. Even James Bond himself, who in that film was played by Sean Connery. So readable, highly polished, irresistible. That's what the Sunday Times says about it. So it's all about, it's typical. It's cat and mouse game, where Smash tried to lure Bond into a trap using a beautiful Russian spy and their number one hitman. So worth a read if you like spy thrillers, especially the old spy thrillers of the Cold War period.